I don't know if this is common knowledge or not, but us Homo sapiens are not the only species of humans to have walked on Earth. You may have heard of Neanderthals before, but there are many more lesser known species, from literal hobbit people to ancestors with brains bigger than ours. Today, I'm going to be ranking them, pretty much just based off vibes. As with anything historical, there is some debate as to whether some of these names are distinct enough to be considered their own species, but I'm not an anthropologist. I don't care. I'm ranking them anyway. We're going to start with Homo longi, also known as Dragon Man. Unfortunately, it's not named that because it has anything to do with dragons, but rather it's named after the region it was discovered in China. Now, I'm a big fan of this one purely just because of the story of how it was discovered, which I made a short about. Feel free to watch that. But essentially, this guy was building a bridge when he discovered it, and he hid it from the authorities in an abandoned well for like 85 years. Just for that, they get A tier. Homo floresiensis. I love these guys. They're known as hobbit people because they stand at only 3.5 feet tall. I'm sure some of y'all 5'8" men can relate to them. Their fossils have only been found on the island of Flores in Indonesia, where they lived between 50,000 to 100,000 years ago. Now, I can make a whole nother video just talking about these guys, and I probably will. I just think they're so silly. They get S tier for sure. Homo neanderthalensis. They are our closest human ancestors and even interbred with modern humans. They lived in Europe and Western Asia from approximately 400,000 to 40,000 years ago. They controlled fire, made complex tools, wore clothing, buried their dead, and even made art. They even had bigger brains than us. I feel like Neanderthals are often thought of as being archaic and stupid, but I think people underestimate them, and for that, they deserve S tier. Homo antecessor. They lived approximately 1.2 million to 800,000 years ago during the Pleistocene. Its fossils were first discovered in Spain, making it the first hominid species to reach Europe. They had modern facial features and were similar in height to modern humans. However, there is debate as to whether they are a distinct species or just an early European form of Homo erectus. Now, what makes this group unique is that some of the fossils show possible signs of cannibalism. Now, they get some brownie points for being the OG Europeans, but me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of cannibalism, so they get B tier. Homo ergaster. They lived around 1.9 to 1.4 million years ago during the early Pleistocene. Their name, ergaster, actually means working man because they had advanced tools compared to their ancestors and were possibly the first to use fire. However, there is debate as to whether they are distinct enough species from Homo erectus. These guys seem like some smart cookies, but their controversy brings them down a little bit. I'll give them B tier. Homo heidelbergensis. I don't know, I'm butchering these names, y'all. But these guys lived approximately 600,000 to 300,000 years ago. And their brain size and weight is comparable to modern humans. Now, they have a lot of aura for being the first early human species to build shelters and hunt large animals. They get A tier. Homo erectus. They were the longest surviving human species, living from 1.9 million to as recently as 110,000 years ago, and was likely the first hominin to leave Africa. They get A tier. Homo habilis, one of the earliest members of the Homo genus, living approximately 2.4 to 1.4 million years ago, primarily in East Africa. Well, that's going to wrap up the rankings. I didn't get to all the archaic humans out there, but I hope you agree with what I have. And if you don't, screw you.